Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to another Burlingame. It's a small town podcast sponsored by the Burlingame Historical Society. This is Mark Lucchese, also known as Mark at the Mic, and my guest today is longtime Burlingame resident Lynne Herrick. Lynne is pretty much a homegrown girl, having attended Washington Elementary School, Burlingame Intermediate, and Burlingame High School, graduating in the 60s. Lynne also taught guitar lessons at the Burlingame Rec Center, now known as the Burlingame Community Center, and for 30 years taught guitar lessons at Nueva School in neighboring Hillsborough. With her teaching days behind her, Lynne is a self-described voracious reader who never wants to stop learning new things and stays on top of current events. She is also interested in learning different languages and enjoys socializing with her friends. And now my conversation with Lynne Herrick. Lynne, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here, and I hope I can make it interesting for your guests.
I'm sure you will. With that long time Burlingame history and life you've had, it'll have a lot of fun today, okay? Yeah. So I mentioned in the intro that, first of all, my intro was okay for you. The facts were okay and all that good stuff, Nueva School and et cetera, et cetera. You were happy with all that? Did I mess anything up?
Something about the 60s in there, but that's okay.
That's all right. I'm a 60s person, too. So I mentioned that you're a homegrown girl and everything. Where were you born? What hospital?
I was born in Mills Hospital.
Yeah, boy. And then from there, you went on to, as you grew up, you went to Washington Elementary School.
I did.
Burlingame Intermediate, like I said, and eventually graduated from Burlingame High School.
Yes.
Yeah. Why don't you share a few memories of Washington and BIS and Burlingame High School, if you can?
Oh, I can, absolutely. I think that Washington School was the best experience for me. It was close to home. It was a good school. It had a good principal, good teachers. And I started there in kindergarten with my neighborhood kids. And I can't remember whether we must have been walked there, I think, or driven, certainly for kindergarten. And so Mrs. Picard, who was French descent, was the kindergarten teacher. But my very, very favorite teachers were two. One was Mary Hodgins, who lived around the corner from me with her husband. And I think she was my fourth grade teacher. But she was so devoted to her students, and loved to teach.
Yeah.
And also kind of motherly, which was a good thing
Very
at that
nice.
time.
Yeah.
You didn't feel like you were out of the loop. But my extremely best favorite teacher was Gene Green, who was the sixth grade teacher. And he was a big man with a big voice and could put everybody in his place if we needed to be, but very compassionate and very interested in each one of his students.
Yeah, great times.
Oh, it was the best. I had the best teachers. And also, that's where you sort of grow up a little bit, away from home.
Yeah.
So I felt the protection of the school and that I was taken care of. Mm-hmm. But I was also given the freedom of,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a great neighborhood school. Sidebar, my youngest son, Cameron, went there.
Oh, yes?
Yep. Second through, I think, fifth before he went to BIS. And then my grandson, my oldest grandson, Christopher, just went there this last
how
last
lovely.
year. Yeah. Anyway, kind of fun stuff, huh? Great stuff.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
It was a good time for me.
What about Burlingame Intermediate?
Well, to tell you the truth, Burlingame Intermediate is kind of a blur for me. Because coming from such a nurturing school like Washington School, and I did very well in grammar school, and they played to all my strengths. But going into that was like all of a sudden the expectations were higher. You were more anonymous. There were people there for all other schools, not just your cohorts, not just your pals. The thing about Burlingame Intermediate School, you were really left on your own devices. And everything that you studied was put down for you. And you studied it at a certain time in a certain way and regulated study. If it was spring, you did this, and it was fall, you did that. And also it was having all these other students from other schools be there. So you had to learn how to deal with other people, strangers more or less, and maybe forge new friendships, which sometimes wasn't always easy. But actually, I hardly remember anything about that school.
Yeah.
I certainly don't remember it thoughtfully.
Right.
But it was the next step in my education, shall we say.
I sort of know what you're talking about when you say, you're meeting all these new kids at Burlingame Intermediate School because you came from Washington, and then all the elementary schools from Burlingame blend into intermediate. So there's a lot of new kids there. I didn't experience that. I went to a K through 8 grammar school here in Burlingame, St. Catharines. Oh, yeah. So, it was just my next step was high school. So speaking of high school, let's talk about Burlingame High School. I think you had a pretty entertaining time while you were there.
Well, you either sank or swim.
Yeah.
So everybody had to do something, find their niche, kind of as it was, And of course, that was at the time when athletics were becoming, they were always there. The football team, of course, was always there and things like that. But athletics for women, girls, began to be popular. Uh-huh. So that gave girls another option of what they wanted to do and to achieve. And then...
you sort of got involved in drama, didn't you?
Oh, well, yes. Well, because that was mine.
Right.
I wasn't an athlete.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be a cheerleader.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be a lot of the other things, maybe president of the student council. Mm-hmm. So I felt that drama was a good
it worked out for you.
Me.
Right. Can you tell me can you remember some of the titles of the plays that you performed in?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I started, the teacher was Mr. Bob Rittenauer, and he was from San Francisco. This is before Mr. Bettendorf became and then it had other teachers. But Bob Rittenauer, we thought was the most urbane man that we had ever seen in our whole entire life.
I bet.
He lived in San Francisco. Uh-huh. He knew all the actors and lived that kind of a life and everything. And we thought he was the bee's knees, So we had sort of a cult around him. So we would, anybody that was in the drama department, we used to eat lunch together in the drama room. We got to know each other even though we were all from different grades. And we sort of formed a coalition of friendships.
And just to go back, what were some of the plays that you participated in?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm drifting here.
It happens.
Yeah. Drifting. Well, the plays, one I was in was called The Curious Savage, and I played an elderly lady, and they dyed my hair, or they spray painted it white. I remember that, much to my horror. But I had to have white hair. And it was where her sons were trying to get all her money away from her. And she kept the money and the bonds and her will and everything in a teddy bear that she carried all the time. Okay?
Yeah.
So they didn't know, and she wasn't going to tell them where it was.
Right.
And it was fun. It was a fun thing to be in. I think I was a junior in high school for that.
Were there 2 plays a year, or were there more? I think they...
Well, they had 2 plays. Usually, Mr. Rittenauer. I could never call him Bob now, even though I'm 110. But anyway, Mr. Rittenauer they would usually have a more serious play, and then maybe a musical. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that they put on South Pacific and various other things, but I was usually in the serious ones. Except my very first one was called "What a Life," and I was I was a sophomore in high school. And I played this person, this bubbly, goofy outgoing person who would jump into the stage and say all sorts of silly things and act real silly and everything. And I really overacted in that one, so that was good. So
was that like a supporting role? It wasn't the lead role?
Oh, very supporting, because that was my first role. You know, he wasn't going to trust me with anything.
Right.
So that, and then after I did Curious Savage, I did a play called The Innocents, and that was taken from The Turn of the Screw, the novel and the play Turn of the Screw. And it was about a nanny or a nurse who was taking care of two little children alone, orphan children alone in this house. And it had weird spirits going on in the house, haunted more or less. And she was defending them from the weird spirits.
Would this been your junior year?
Yes.
Okay.
My junior year. And one part, and that was the lead. I had the lead in that one.
Wow, by your junior year, you took a lead. Good for you.
Yeah. Well, I guess he figured I could memorize things. So one part of that thing is that I had to go off stage, and apparently when I was off stage, I saw something horrible happen to them, absolutely horrible. And I was supposed to let out this blood-curdling scream. Uh-huh. Well, I again overacted, and I let out a scream that you could have heard me in San Bruno. It was just the most over-the-top dramatic scream you could do. And so it got everybody's attention, of course, which I really loved. And I guess because of that, I won the Best Actress of the Year award that year.
Really? Congratulations.
On my scream, I'm sure.
Yeah. Congratulations.
You're welcome.
And again, that was your junior year or senior year? I lost track of
No, that was my junior
year. Mm-hmm. How did your senior year go?
Well, the senior year, the plays were not really suited for me.
Were they musicals then, or something, or what?
Well, yeah, I think they did My Fair Lady.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure, but I was glad to work behind the scenes. I mean,
like building sets, or what? When you say behind the scenes,
that and publicity and all the other things, supporting my fellow drama students.
Right.
But nothing in there really fit with me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. While you were, let's just say, a senior at Burlingame High School, where did you and your friends hang out? Did you have any popular places that you like to go meet after school?
Well, the thing about when you're in the drama department, you know all these other people from different years, and we used to hang out and have lunch together in the drama department. And I had a friend that was a year ahead of me, Selma Hartog. Hi, Selma. And she and I used to go and meet other people, friends from the drama department at Santini's Pizza Parlor, which was in San Mateo.
Right.
And Santini's had great pizza, know. And she had a little Fiat roaster her father bought her that only had 2 seats in the whole thing. It was like a little time capsule instead of a car. So we would go down El Camino, after on a Friday night, after whatever we were doing, and go down to Santini's. And of course, when you went down El Camino, there'd be all these people there in cars, boys and girls in cars. And, with the windows down, kind of talking across the El Camino to each other, and I don't know, fixing up appointments for afterwards and everything. And by the way, I think I saw you there one time.
You may have.
Yeah, but
cruising El Camino was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think I saw you. Because you were there a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Don't get carried away.
No,
then, okay?
and also I think my friend Hugh Barrett was also in the scene a little bit too. And all I can say is, those Sarah boys.
Oh, we were Sarah boys.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, you were Sarah boys.
And Santini's was just down the block and around the corner from Sarah High School.
Yes.
On El Camino.
Yes.
Right. What about any memories of Burlingame Avenue? Did you ever go over to the Avenue much?
Well, yeah, and that throughout the years, sometimes it was closed on the lunch hour, and sometimes it wasn't. And I'm not exactly sure when it was closed and whether I took advantage of it, or I did or I didn't go off the campus. But people would go to flings, or or hasty tasty, as it was once called. Maybe over there to get something. They had hamburgers at the time rather than just donuts, and then sometimes, but but I think I would really go on Burlingame Avenue more by myself, if I was going to get something done there or something like that. But at the time, when I was very little, there used to be a newspaper man that they used to call, oh, God, forgive me.
Eddie?
Yeah, Crazy Eddie.
Crazy Eddie.
Sorry, that's a terrible
Ed,
thing
that's
to
all
say.
right, because he was kind of goofy.
Yeah, but it was
in a fun way. But you know what? He was Eddie Sheehan.
Eddie Sheehan,
Right.
yeah. And it was a different era.
It was a different time, right.
So anyway, he would be there, and people would, be kind to him, and he would come up and do gibberish and things, but he wasn't a harm, and so I remember him. And then the other thing I remember about Burlingame is that on my senior year, Bessie Dutton, who was in my class, and I decided that we were going to have our pictures taken for the yearbook, senior yearbook, so we wanted to look good. So we would go to this beauty parlor on Burlingame Avenue. I think it started with UK Beauty Salon, and it was by somebody and the woman and her husband had it.
So the UK is still there.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it's still there.
Uh-oh.
Now, was it called UK back then? That's amazing.
I don't know if it was, but it was in the same place.
In that place, right.
And I don't know what they were, German or what they were,
Okay.
but anyway, we went in to get our hair done, and they gave us a permanent, and it burned our hair off.
Oh, my God.
So in the picture in the yearbook, we both look like walking Brillo pads.
That's funny.
And you don't do that to a senior girl,
No way, no.
And also there was the prom.
Right.
So Betsy and I wore a hat the rest of the senior year, as I recall. So that is. And
somewhere in my notes, I found out that you were on the rec dance committee, right? The famous Friday night rec dances at the Recreation Center, which is now the Burlingame Community Center. What was that about?
Well, they had a lot of clubs at Burlingame High School. You could be in the French club and whatever. But they had the Student Recreation Council, they called it. I don't know if it was a club or a council. And and I was the president of that for a while. But the thing is, they had about 10 members of students, and we would plan the dances, and we would pick the music for the dances. And if we weren't playing records, which we did a lot, this was early on.
Right.
If we didn't play records, we would hire bands every once in a while.
And the bands actually became very popular after a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think they were all sort of trying this out, you know, sort of thing. So I would be there, and if I was picking the records, various people would come over and try to lean on you to play their favorite songs so he could, that he could dance slow with this gal, So I didn't take payola, but that was close.
Right.
I was leaned on. But anyway, they were very, it was fun. And then we also planned activities for teens.
Yeah.
Not just the rec dances.
Like when you say an activity, like going skiing or something like that, or what?
Well, no, we would put on dances. We would select theme dances for the teenagers, not the rec dances, theme dances. And this was during the time when beatniks were popular. It was the time between beatniks and then later on hippies. We were in that sort of gray zone.
Yeah, the transition time.
Yeah, so we certainly weren't beatniks.
Right, but you weren't a hippie either.
We weren't anything. Yeah. We were just, that was what was going. Those were the cool people.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a costume dance, and people dressed all as beatniks in black. But I remember everybody had, because they had a place called the Bagel House where they all went, the beatniks went to gather, and people had...
Here in Burlingame?
Oh, no.
in the city?
In the city.
Okay.
Called the Bagel Existence Club
really?
Or something like that. So all the kids made necklaces out of bagels.
Oh, how cool.
I mean, we thought that was cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
We thought being a beatnik meant you had a necklace made of bagels.
Great. Okay, so speaking of the beatniks and the transition time, during your high school years, and I hope I have this name correct, you worked at the Golden Lamp Cafe on Park Avenue?
Ding, ding, ding. That's not quite correct.
Okay.
First of all, I didn't work there. And second of all, it was, during that time, it was just the beginning of the It was after we were all out of high school. So it was the year we were out of high school.
Out of high school.
Out of high
And
school.
what was the name of it then?
It was a tea room, and it was called the Golden Lamp.
Golden
Which
Lamp.
was significant to this charity group who use it to gather funds as a tea room during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it had been taken over by these two older fellows, which means they were in college.
Yeah, in their 20s, right? Early 20s.
Older fellows, and also everybody was playing guitar at the time, or banjo or folk music. So they started a coffee house, which was popular at that time.
Not a coffee shop.
No, a coffee shop is where you go in and meet your pals and have breakfast together,
Yeah.
and
A coffee house, though, is where people
a coffee
came.
house was taken from the English idea of a gathering spot for intellectuals. Excuse me.
Uh-huh.
And so also it sort of suited the time. It was the time of protest in the United States, Vietnam War.
Did they also do poetry there, or was it strictly music?
Us?
Yeah.
No,
Or people that came into...
No, it was strictly music.
Strictly music.
Strictly music.
And it was pretty much anybody could come and play. Is that correct?
Well, anybody could come and play. They're called open mics.
Open mic, yeah.
And the open mics mean that if you play something and you want to try it out in an audience, you can sign up to play.
Right.
Unfortunately, we didn't have any money to pay them, but they needed the practice.
Yeah.
In front of people, and so it got really popular.
And again, it's called the Golden Lamp Coffee House or Cafe.
Well, let's put it this way: the Yoke fellows who did this, they called it the Golden Lamp.
Okay.
Which I think is significant to them, is a lamp leading the people out of prison
Right.
to a better life. That's what the Golden Lamp meant.
Because I want to tell our listeners that it was located, which is now the location of Rosso Restaurant.
Rasa.
Rasa
Wow.
on Park, which is the Indian restaurant.
Yeah, it was Park and
Almost Howard, just off of Howard.
Park and Howard.
Yeah.
And so that's where it was. But it wasn't set up to be a coffee house where it had a stage and a light and every sound system or anything.
So you would do that on weekends or nightly? How would that work?
We would do it on weekends, and we did it. We took over. The fellow came out who had been running it and said, "Oh, I have to give this up." And all the musicians went, "Oh, no, no, no." And he said, because this band in San Francisco has asked me to be this rock band, their first drummer. And we said, what it's called? And they said the Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah, and that's something.
And so he wanted to go there. So
Yeah.
I mean, you can't blame him.
And I think one of them was a student up at CSM, I believe, at the College of San Mateo.
Who?
The one of the fellows from the Jefferson Airplane was going to school at the College of San Mateo. I thought I read that someplace.
I don't recall anybody.
Oh,
but,
okay, Lynne, you don't have to worry about that. We'll move on.
But I'm a child of the '60s. I don't remember much.
But that was kind of like the beginning of the folk songs and the hootenanny and all of that kind of thing.
Yes, and it wasn't acoustic. It was acoustic music,
Right,
which
not
means
electrical.
not electric music.
Yeah.
But this new thing was starting in San Francisco, but the folk music thing was still really popular.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of interest, and Michael Wenger was my partner in that, and he went to Menlo School, where members of the not Jefferson Airplane, two of the members of the Grateful Dead had gone to to Menlo School. So it was kind of
Right.
that sort of thing. So anyway, I was looking for a partner, and he said he was available. I knew him a bit, so he became my partner in that. And then we had help in the kitchen, who would make the coffees. That's what you have in a coffee house: coffees
Right.
and little pastries and things like that. And that was Vance Frost, who now is a realtor in Marin County, very successful. Shout out to you, Vance. And also Maria Mangini, Vic Mangini's daughter.
Right.
Also helped us out.
Yeah, Maria is a nurse, I think, across the
Oh,
bay
yeah,
now.
a very bright gal.
That's a great name to bring back.
Very bright gal. And so
We were out of high school when this was going on, correct?
we were all just out of high school.
Were you at San Francisco State at that time?
No, I was no.
No school at that time.
No, I was, and we started during the summer, so
Okay.
I wasn't in school.
So I know that somewhere you eventually moved down to San Miguel Allende
Whoa, okay.
in Mexico, right?
Yeah, Zoom. You just zoomed me through about
Yeah,
15
a lot of years.
Well, quite a few. I want to backtrack just one little thing, if you don't mind.
No.
When I belonged to the rec council, they took us up to San Francisco as a treat to have dinner and go to the Hungry Eye.
Oh, boy.
And the Hungry Eye used to be the real, the cool place in North
Classic
Beach to go.
spot. Classic.
So that was our treat for the school year. And the people that were playing there were the Kingston Trio. And I heard the guitar, and that was it. I immediately came back and told my mother I wanted to stop piano lessons and take up the guitar.
That lit up your senses.
It changed my life.
Yeah.
It changed my life. And then the Golden Lamp started, because I graduated. I just want to give the idea. So guitar from then on was a very important part of my life. And I convinced poor old Ed Lincoln, who was the superintendent, to have me teach guitar at the rec center. But it was a time when even athletics were not really done. You didn't have a lot of programs going on.
At the rec center.
At the rec center. And he said, I don't know about the guitar. It's kind of a flash in the pan, but, you seem responsible and we'll let you do it. And I taught there for at least 15 years, yeah. And it was terrific. I had children's classes in the daytime and adult classes at night, and maybe 4 classes 3 times a week. And then it got to the point where I'd have beginner classes and intermediate, and then later on advanced classes.
Boy, very busy.
Yeah, very busy.
By then, had you left the Golden Lamp? Was that done and over with, or were you doing
No,
both at the same time?
Both.
Yeah.
Both.
And that lasted for a few years at the rec center, I guess?
15 years
Right.
at the rec center and 3 years at the Golden Lamp.
Did Mexico come after the rec center, or
Yes,
like during?
way after.
Way after. Okay, so walk me through that a little bit. Take me.
Oh, okay.
Take me on
So
that
I was
journey.
I was teaching at the rec center.
Yeah.
And they really started to grow. They would get fabulous classes, and the classes grew and grew. So sometimes what happens then, maybe cooking was really big, and everybody took cooking, and everybody was taking guitar. But then it sort of slowed down because there were more choices.
Mm-hmm.
So I would get fewer and fewer classes. So I asked the advanced people in my class whether they wanted to go house to house, and I'll teach them privately. So I would have like 10 students that I had from the rec center who wanted to go further, and we'd take turns at each other's house and have wine and coffee and what you couldn't do at a rec center. And it was all sorts of people that were totally different personalities, totally. But the thing is, music brings all sorts of people together. You don't have to have the same background or the same interests or anything, but there's a communication that musicians do with each other that just brings you right to the soul.
It's a uniter.
And you
Brings
can
people together.
be an amateur or whatever. It's magic. And so those went on for some time. And then from that, I got hired at Nueva. But San Miguel de Allende, San Miguel de Allende was between when it started to get slow at the rec center and before Nueva started. And I really wanted to travel somewhere. And I'm the last of my particular line from England, so I went to England and visited the family place there. Mm-hmm. And then I came back and I thought, well, that's okay, but it's too far. Mm-hmm. So I was really interested in Mexico because it was close. So I asked all my friends whether they wanted to go with me to Mexico, and either nobody had the money or the time. So I thought, well, either go by yourself or don't go at all. So I thought, well, what's the worst that could happen to me? you know. So I don't speak Spanish. I speak French thanks to Mrs. Glang in Burlingame High School. So
Shout out to Mrs. Glang.
shout out to if she's still in this
Right.
planet. Yeah. So anyway, so I went.
Well, what made you pick San Miguel Allende?
Oh, well, I went to Mexico City really first.
Okay.
But I love to do research on where I go, and I read that it was a art colony sort of a place up in the mountains in the countryside, up in the hills, and it had been popularized by the people coming out of the World War II. The I forgot what they're called, anyway, and they started an art school there called the Instituto de Allende, which put on art.
What was it called again?
Institute
Oh, got it, right.
Allende.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, they started this art program, and then all of a sudden, all these people on the, who had money or I can't think what it's called, but when you're in the army and they give you a certain amount of pittance to go on.
Like a GI Bill.
GI Bill. Thank you, dear friend.
That's okay.
So the GI Bill, we'll get a lot of people from the GI Bill went there. And the place grew and grew and grew and grew, and it transformed this little village, this beautiful historical building during the Revolutionary War, beautiful architecture, into the place to go for artists.
Was it? Could you call it a hippie colony or not?
No, not hippie at all.
Okay.
I mean, there were people that were, had long hair,
Right.
but that didn't make them a hippie.
No.
And Mexico really didn't approve of hippies.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were hippie in Mexico at that time,
You were taking a chance?
well, you were taking a chance because the police would come and cut your hair.
Yeah, right. How many years did you spend down there?
Well, the first time I was there, I was just there on a trip,
Right.
but I took a month my very first time.
All by yourself?
All by myself.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Oh, I had a lot of odd experiences,
I bet.
but I survived.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with the place because the Mexican people were so gracious and so helpful and so nice and so giving.
Yeah.
And
How much Spanish did you know when you arrived?
well, before I went, because I like to read, I read every guidebook that I could possibly read, and also every language book on how to say, "Where's the American consulate?"
Yeah.
I'm sick, help me. And
Yeah.
So I read up all that kind of thing, but I certainly didn't speak Spanish by any stretch of the imagination. But when you're in a foreign country like that, and you're interested in the language, you have it all around you. I mean, you see billboards that say, "Tome Coca-Cola," and there's somebody drinking a Coke out of a bottle, so you know that means drink, have a Coke. I mean, it helps you learn the language if you're at all interested. And I listened to everybody.
Yeah.
And so I picked up a lot of it.
So you stayed down there for a month, more or less, and then came back to the States?
Yeah. Well, I was in Mexico City for a week and a half, and then I went to San Miguel for the rest of the time.
Right. Okay, so then you came home for a while,
Well, yeah, then I came home for a while.
but decided you wanted to go back there, or how did you end up going back?
Yeah, because I brought my guitar with me to Mexico the first time.
Right.
Carried that thing around, and that I had made a lot of good friends. And I was staying at a posada that had a lot of interesting people there. We'd all eat together. And
How old were you, more or less, at that time?
19.
Okay, so your parents were pretty cool about all that.
Yeah, well, yeah. Surprisingly, I'm an only child.
Uh-huh.
And surprisingly, I had freedom.
Yeah, that's great.
In some ways.
It's unusual, I think.
No, I'm going to say, bless my parents, my mother in particular, bless her heart, but, she was also very careful with me.
Yeah.
But I did have freedom a lot of times.
Altogether, how much time did you spend down in Mexico like that?
Well, I would go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and probably 5 years.
Teaching guitar lessons down there as well?
Well, I did. When I got to know San Miguel very well and had made contacts there, I was asked to teach guitar at the Bellas Artes, which is their school of music in San Miguel.
Yeah.
And not part of the art institute, but that's where the music was taught. Yeah. And
have you been back since?
yes, I have, because I had a friend that moved down there. And she retired from an airlines and moved down there, as many, women do. There's now,
If you were going to, has it changed a lot since, when you were younger down there, when it is today?
Oh, yes. Even though it had really changed starting in the 50s when they started the art colony, then you really had, the changes, the whole town changed.
Yeah.
So when I was there were nice restaurants and things like that. But yes, it had really changed. It was always a place where the wealthy Mexicans would come from Mexico City on the weekends. So the place would be booming on the weekends, things like that. Well, now it's like quadrupled.
Wow.
And then it also got out, any place that's as charming as that gets out among people, and American expats come down and they build big houses all over the town. I mean, beautiful, they take the old house, the old VS, and they make them into some spectacular houses. So it got really built up.
All right, so eventually San Miguel Allende goes away, you come back to the States, okay? Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey there? Did you go back to the rec center and continue teaching, or did Nueva come along at that time?
Well, I went back to the rec center and I taught one summer. The summer I had come back from Mexico. And, I didn't have a lot of students, but I enjoyed teaching. It wasn't like before when I taught there. And then I got a call on the phone one night from the director of music at the Nueva School, Dr. Genevieve Fitzmaurice. And she said, I understand that you're a guitar teacher. And I said, yes, I am. And she said, well, we're a music school, part of a music school at the Nueva School, and started by Yehudi Menuhin, who started the music department here, who was a wonderful violinist, who was a prodigy. And he wanted a school where children could go and be part of the regular curriculum, but also emphasize music. Because Nueva is a school for gifted
children.
Gifted children, not gifted in everything, but, a special school to enhance their abilities, So she said, but we will only have piano and violin, and we'd like to branch out. Would you be interested in coming and being our guitar teacher? And I said, oh, well, that sounds very nice, And I was looking for a job, and I love children. And so she said, well, come and meet me at school, and we'll walk around, and I'll show you what it would be like. So I came, and we hit it off immediately. And I mean, she was very strict with what was correct in music. She wasn't a casual person about music at all. And she said, I think, you have the job. And then I thought to myself,
did you audition for her?
No, she hadn't even heard me play.
No audition?
No.
Just the conversation.
And I said, well, are you, I said, do you want to hear me? I think I said, do you want to hear me play? And she says, no. She says, we listen to our students and their recommendations. So I had the job. But the thing is, when I first went to the music teachers meeting, they were all from Juilliard and had been in symphony orchestras.
Really?
And I mean, they were all the top of their field,
Wow. Yeah.
And here I am, basically a folk guitar player.
Yeah.
But, I was proud.
Sounds like she was kind of changing with the times a little bit too.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I think, sure, she was trying to branch out the program.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was scholarship to being a scholarship to be a Menuhin scholar. Mm-hmm. So they needed to advance the program somewhat. Yeah. And I think that if I had, really flopped, I wouldn't have stayed on.
Yeah. So for our listeners out there, a lot of folks probably know that Nueva is at the top of, I'm going to just say Ralston, right? It's on Skyline up there. Up by 280.
Up Chateau. Turn left on... whatever
at the top, and right,
at Black Mountain, or whatever it is.
And can you give me a little history of Nueva, just a little bit? Like how did it come about? How many years has Nueva been around?
Well, since it was before it went to the private. It went to the current campus in 1971.
Okay.
But it was started by a woman, Karen Stone McCowan. She wasn't McCowan then. She was Karen Stone, who was married to a wealthy philanthropist. And she thought there really should be a place for children that were sort of exceptional to go, so that they can increase their abilities, but also integrate their abilities into real life, not just be the little smarty pants in the 6th grade, but really, use their abilities. So she started it in a little house, somebody's house in the back, and then it grew. So the two houses one in San Mateo, one in Hillsborough, were owned by two sons of the Crocker family, the William Crocker family.
So both of these were part of the Crocker estate?
Well, two Crocker sons. One owned a house, a big home, which is now the Upland School in San Mateo.
Crystal?
Well, it was Crystal, and then Uplands.
Uplands, right.
Uplands is when it became co-ed. And that house is actually the original Crocker estate had burned down, so that house was built. Then the other son, the younger Crocker son, William Crocker, built a big home on top of the hill called Sky Farm in Hillsborough, on the top of the hill in Hillsborough. And all of that area at one time had 500 acres, belonged to the Crockers.
Boy.
But then he didn't like the house, and his wife died or something like that. So he wanted to sell it. So Karen Stone's husband bought it from him. He only bought the house and the surrounding area to the house, which is probably about 10 acres, I guess, something like that. 10 acres it has. But the rest of the 500 acres were subdivided for houses.
For homes, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But this one area but he designated it, that Karen Stone's husband designated it to be a school.
So they had to do a lot of add-ons to the
Well, they did.
There?
Well, at the time, they probably didn't do any add-ons, but they did a lot of kid-proofing.
Right.
Because at the school, even today, we still have the original ballroom. We have the original kitchens.
Yeah.
We have the original outside areas and fountains.
And what is Nueva? Is it K through 8? K through 8th grade?
At the Hillsborough site, it's K through 8th.
Yeah. And I know they now have a high school over in San Mateo.
Yes, they do in the Old Bay Meadows.
Yeah.
But now it's been built up quite a lot. They have a performing arts center. They have a special what they call the innovation department where they do experiments and things like that.
Wow. Okay, so let's do a little quick comparison here. You taught at the Rec Center for many years, and now you're at Nueva, okay, introducing a whole new program, guitar, right? Teaching guitar. I guess the environment had to be a whole lot different up there than it was at the Rec Center, right?
Well,
did you teach the same kind of way that you taught at the Rec Center, or did you have to refine your skills at all or anything like that?
Well, I really, it was an eye-opener because these were children, unfortunately, the parents had to pay for what they got there, even though they do have scholarships to this time. But the thing is that it was a smaller school at that time. When I came, it was only about 150 students.
What would it be now?
Oh, it's way over 200, almost 300. But they have extended rooms, things like that. So the children were gifted. They all had to take a Stanford-required testing to see what they were specialized in, how their mind worked, what they were gifted in, because they're not gifted in everything. They had to pass an IQ test. And so they were very bright, and usually a family that has a lot of money also gives their children many advantages. And so a lot of them have been exposed to, the arts and a lot of things that they got because their families were well-to-do.
Yeah.
But not everybody was. Not everybody was well-to-do. So anyway, I would go in, and it took me a long time to get any guitar students. So I had to do things to get myself up. So I started a guitar club, and people joined that and then took lessons. So I got students that way. I started a thing where all the teachers were supposed to give back to the school, the music teachers, by performing in some ways. So I started a thing called the Holiday Sing-Along.
Oh, it had to be fun.
Which was a community thing. The community of Burlingame were all at Hillsborough were invited, and many of them showed up.
Does that still go on?
Oh, no. It went on for about 10 years, 12 years while I was there. But finally it...
just kind of fizzled out and moved on.
So finally, it got to be that you could do other things. I lost the British call this. I lost the plot.
Okay, so while you're up there, right? Any memorable students or
They were all memorable.
Yeah,
they were all. I got into that school and I thought, now if I had gone to a school like this, because I didn't do that well, to tell you the truth, in high school. Mm-hmm. I mean, I did the least I could possibly.
But you did good in drama.
Well, I did good in drama, and I didn't make, ridiculously awful grades, but I just squeaked by, shall we say. I wasn't challenged. But at Nueva, I mean, these students were challenged with what they learned. It was meaningful to them, what they learned. They were given the opportunity to go at their own rates. And also, Nueva says that they do the curriculum at the beginning of the year, and the children pick what they want to study. Because they're an accredited school, of course, they have to do English and...
Right, take all your regular subjects.
All the regular stuff, but anything that they wanted to do of an extracurricular activity or extra know about, the students brought up what they wanted. So it was a very, and they were fascinating, and the teachers would get people in to help them with this. And if some little boy came up to his teacher, even if he was in kindergarten, and said, this I saw something on television called physics. I really would like to learn that. Oh, it sounds fascinating. The teacher would assist in maybe finding some dad or who was a physicist who would help would encourage the child.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, and so and maybe he was really good in English, so he didn't have to do reading at that time. He could do physics.
Speaking of reading, were you teaching how to read sheet music as well, or was everything?
Oh yeah, no, I had a good classical education for my piano. I mean, I could read music.
Right.
And if I had to on the guitar, I could read guitar.
But were you passing that on to the students as well, or were they just playing by ear or?
Well, it depended on what I was teaching them. It was a classical music oriented school.
Right.
The classics. Of course, piano and violin. It was classical music. And
so we weren't doing any Bob Dylan things or anything, or Joan Baez or anything like that?
Well, not at the time, because I was more or less trying to get students and keeping a low profile.
Right.
So when I would get a student, I would go in a classical way. I would teach them a classical song, a piece. But I sort of stayed away from Mozart and all those, Beethoven, and would teach them Spanish classical, which really suits the guitar and is a little more interesting to listen to.
I bet. When you were teaching that, let's say did you have first or second graders that wanted to learn guitar, or were they mostly kids that were fifth grade or sixth grade?
I would have kindergartners.
You would?
They could take, if they had permission from their teachers and permission from their parents.
Right.
Well, the parents were all for it, but they'd have to have permission from the teachers.
But I imagine you had to structure each class a little differently, huh? From kindergartners to eighth graders?
Well, I didn't teach in a group. I taught individual students, one-on-one.
Wow.
And for a music teacher, that's like heaven on earth.
I bet.
Because, I can speak for all the piano teachers in the world and all the people that teach after school and before school and all this sort of thing, that, it's not easy to do that. and we could have the teachers would give permission for the music students to come down and take the lessons. And the music department was very strong at that time, had a lot of clout.
Yeah,
and
you mentioned that Juilliard, you had folks from Juilliard?
Well, the music department, the teachers there were 8 of them there, eight music teachers when I was there, mostly violin and piano. Oh, and I think she hired a wind teacher as well as the guitar. And they were all professional. You had to be a professional musician in order to teach there.
Right.
Because a professional musician has their chops up. I mean, in other words, you're not just relying on a book. You know what it's like to perform. And what to, so anyway, we all had to have that equivalent. But when I went into the first teachers meeting, they were all, playing in the San Francisco Symphony, and they were, touring Europe, and had to take some time off because they were going on a solo trip of,
Right.
They were all top of their field.
You must have felt pretty privileged then to get a phone call like that to come up and teach guitar lessons. I think that's pretty more than flattering. It's a real acknowledgement.
I had no idea about it.
Really?
At the time, I hadn't heard of the Nueva School. I mean, maybe I'd heard of it. Well, I heard of it because I had been teaching at the Rec Center, the boy that recommended me to Dr. Fitzmaurice. So I had heard of it.
What a break.
Well, it was, and I fit in finally, and I lasted a long time.
So earlier you mentioned, and I hope I get this name right,
Yehudi Menuhin.
Menuhin. And who was he again?
Well, Yehudi Menuhin was a child prodigy on the violin. He was from the Bay Area. His parents were immigrants and very intellectual. And he started violin. His parents were both musicians, too. And he started playing the violin when he was, could hold one, I guess. And he was extraordinary.
And when you say prodigy, it just came to him?
Well, he was a genius at it. Some people are just like the gifted children at Nueva.
Right.
They were geniuses at what they did. And he was a genius at playing the violin. So he started playing, and his first appearance was with the San Francisco Symphony at, I think, 8 years old. And so he...
8 years old?
8 years old.
Wow.
But the thing about him is that he grew up in a very restricted way because he had to take lessons all the time. He wasn't allowed to play with anybody because somebody hit his hands, and that would be the end of that.
Yeah.
And so he was kept away from other children.
Was he a guy that you could approach and talk to, or was he kind of up in the air about things?
Oh, no. This is why he started these schools. So when he became an adult and knew what a horrible life he had as a child, he started schools all over the world, mostly in England and in Switzerland, for musically gifted children who were also in an academic setting. I mean, they would play sports and things like that. They wouldn't be just in a thing where it was music, music, music all the time. But they could follow their gift, but also be human, And so he started those 2 schools. And then he was a good friend of Karen Stone's.
Who was the founder of Nueva.
And so she asked him if he would start that kind of a school for musically gifted children, too.
Yeah.
At Nueva, he would set it up. And he did.
And I guess a lot of parents must have recognized the name. I'm just guessing.
Well, I don't know.
It would be like if Burlingame High School hired Barry Bonds to coach baseball, and people recognize that name, right? Which, I don't...
Well, sure, the Barry Bonds School of Baseball, I'd go.
So I'm sure parents recognize Yehudi.
Well, yeah, I think after a while, I don't know. They didn't confide in me. Yeah. But the thing is, they knew that it was a top drawer thing to be.
Right.
And if you were a Menuhin scholar, which means you had to, audition to be on the scholarship. Yeah. The Menuhin teachers, I wasn't a Menuhin teacher at the time. There were only maybe 3 of them that were Menuhin teachers. They would...
Wait a minute. What do you mean by that, Menuhin teachers?
Well, the Menuhin teachers only taught Menuhin scholars. Menuhin scholars.
Okay, you're losing me.
Okay, all right. Well, any of the music teachers could teach any of the students.
Uh-huh.
I mean, but the expectations were not as strict as they were for the Menuhin Scholars. The Menuhin Scholars were chosen by audition, and they had to have the cooperation of their family to put in that kind of a practice regimen.
So are these kids that maybe went on to do big and better
they
things?
Did.
Yeah.
They did. But, I was a newbie, so they weren't going to make me a Menuhin teacher until they found out what I was going to do.
Yeah.
But eventually, Gigi asked me, after I had taught for some time, she was called Gigi by her friends, to be a Menuhin teacher because I could do it.
So you became a Menuhin teacher.
I got
Wow.
Anointed.
Yeah. That's like a Michelin star restaurant, right? I guess, huh?
Well, something like that.
It means something
Well,
big.
it was twice the work, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It was wonderful because those were children that were really dedicated to it. I mean, all my students were dedicated to it, but in different degrees. And when I taught, whether they were Menuhin or not, I taught them basically the same.
Yeah.
I had the same degree of expectations, but in a different way for all my students. But I approached each one on an individual way.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that you had it took a while to get the guitar program
Yes.
off the ground, right?
Yes, it did.
When it was going full blast,
Yes.
how many students would you have? Like,
Oh, I taught 5 days a week, and I'd have 12 students a day.
no kidding.
Yeah,
Full day.
full day. More than I would have ever dreamed.
Yeah. Jeez. Thanks for sharing some of that. That's pretty cool stuff.
Well, then
Nueva.
we had guitar club, and we
Yeah.
had and the one thing my students would always do, and we did it for 20 years. We go caroling through the halls at Christmas. Right? Well, we couldn't really call it Christmas. I'm sorry. We were sort of a
Through the holidays, right?
Holidays, and so we would go, and my students would dress up with Santa hats on, and we'd have permission from the school.
Yeah.
To go into any classroom on that day, and we go in and we say, "We wish you a Merry Christmas." And we go in, and the whole class would stop because the teachers knew we were coming.
Right.
And we'd sing with the students.
Yeah.
And they just love it. And they would give us candy early on. They stopped giving us candy when it became vetoed. And then, and everybody was cheery, and we say, "See you next year," and we go on to the next class, and
Yeah.
we cover the whole school.
A lot of fun.
And everybody looked forward to it, the students in the classrooms. And
You must have met a wide variety of parents up there, huh?
I met wonderful people.
Yeah.
I mean, extraordinary people.
Can you share a story?
Well, at that school, mentioning to you that there were a lot of wealthy parents.
Yeah.
A lot of the people from the big tech companies had their children there. And it wasn't because they had all that tech money necessarily, but they had really bright children who passed all the tests. Everybody had to pass the test,
Right.
no matter how much money you had. And there were a lot of tech people from, all around, Apple and all sorts of other big companies that were starting up. And there were also, people from the stage and movie stars and things like that.
Yeah.
And also people that were great scientists. And, I mean, there were
And these are all people that were living in the Bay Area, I guess,
Oh,
right?
yeah, all in the Bay Area. And then again, too, we had a lot of, regular parents,
Sure.
regular parents who were, not poverty-stricken, but their children were bright and they wanted the best for them, so
Yeah.
they suffered through it or got a scholarship, But it wasn't. A lot of people that I've talked to say, "Oh, you taught at the Nueva School. That's an exclusive school, a snobby school," and it wasn't that way at all. It wasn't that way at all. Everybody was made to feel important,
Right.
and that we
the
had
parents were approachable, in other words.
very
Yeah.
approachable.
Right.
And I can say this because unfortunately he's passed away because we couldn't really talk about, the people, the parents or anything. But the thing is, was Robin Williams. And both of his children went to Nueva, his daughter Zelda and his son, who was a lot younger by a different wife.
Yeah.
And
wow, Robin Williams.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and Robin. But all the parents there, no matter who they were there as parents. I mean, there was a famous actress who I can't mention, and but she was there, and she did a lot for the school. She'd work after school there with the students.
That's great to hear.
You know, they were all there as parents.
Right.
But Robin Williams, because of who he is, his son was in Cody was in kindergarten. So he would go down on Friday afternoons when he was in town, not filming or something, and he would read a story to the kindergartners.
Gosh.
But he'd read it in a la his style.
Yeah, of course, which was terrific.
Yeah, which was bouncing off the walls,
absolutely.
So all the teachers, and that also was down where the music room. So all the music teachers, everybody
kind
would
of
go,
come down and listen and watch.
We were hiding behind the door, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and he was just, and of course, you know, they had donations to the school. They had, you know, the fundraisers and things, and all those people were very generous to the school.
That's great to hear.
But he was there. But you know, he was there as a dad.
Yeah.
Too.
You imagine growing up and then finding out eventually who Robin Williams was. And
well, yeah, he was just, you know, Cody's strange dad. You know,
great stuff. Yeah, great. How long ago did you stop teaching or retire from Nueva?
Well, I stopped during COVID because I've always been a hands-on kind of a teacher. Mm-hmm. In other words, I like to see the whites of the eyes of my students and see what they're doing.
Yeah, and Zoom didn't do that for you as much.
Well, I didn't even try it.
Yeah.
Because first of all, I'm technically challenged.
That's okay.
And second of all, to me, it's such a personal thing. Teaching, it's an thing. Each student is his own independent entity.
Yeah.
And some people teach through slight coercion. Some people teach through storytelling. I used to tell these wild stories about some of these classical songs. Some true, some not. Sorry to say, if anybody's listening.
That's okay.
And but it would catch their interest.
Yeah.
And then it meant something to them.
Yeah.
Or I have a friend that can play this song faster than anybody on earth. So they would all challenge each other. And also I gave out candy.
Yeah.
Called Jolly Ranchers.
Oh, everybody loves Jolly Ranchers. Absolutely.
Well, the only problem is that I would only give it to them if they had done something very well or in practice and everything. And sometimes when they were feeling down, they would come in. But I had a brilliant student with the highest IQ that Nueva had ever had, and I taught him in kindergarten through 8th grade. And I think he came in about the 4th grade one day, and he flopped back in the chair, and he says, "Oh, what a day I've had. I need a rancher, and I need it bad."
So did you hook him up with a rancher?
Yeah, I know.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was the supply, and I thought, what did I do?
Yeah.
You know?
You were the supplier.
Yeah, what did I do?
I love it. Have you been back?
Oh, yeah, I go back because they have what are called brown bags there where the music students all perform at the lunch hour for their classmates come down, and the kindergarten comes down and brings their lunch, and they have lunch in the ballroom. Yeah. And they listen to their friends play a piece of music.
That's great.
And then we also had recitals, but recitals by each grade level, you know.
Are there still some of the same teachers there, or has it turned over since you've been around, since you've left?
It turned out that when I left, the librarian and I had been there the longest of any of them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Really?
Uh-huh. And there were a lot of new teachers there that I don't know who they were, you know.
Yeah.
But she and I were the longest standing.
What about
teachers.
Yehudi? Was he still around?
Oh no, he and his wife, who was a ballerina, they lived in the UK. But his parents lived in Los Gatos when they got older. Uh-huh. So he would come to the school every year and visit them, and then come and hear the Menuhin scholars play.
Right. Is he still around? I mean, is he still alive?
He passed away too. And his main school for the musically gifted, the one that's most known, is in Cobham, which is in Surrey, which is in the UK, in England.
Yeah.
And I went there. I visited there. And I said, hello, I'm the guitar teacher from the Nueva School.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. And they hadn't, they showed me all around the school, like
Terrific.
royalty. They were very, very pleasant.
Terrific.
And then I went back into the headmaster's office, and he said, he says, we're going to start a guitar program here. I said, you are? He says, yes, it's time I think we branch out more to other instruments.
Isn't that cool?
And so I thought, well, I mean, I'm not going to, he's not offering the job to me. But the thing he says, and we're going to start it in the fall. And the only reason we can start it is that we've been very, the British, how they speak.
Oh, yeah.
We've been very, very, very generously, supplied with the startup. By a band you must know, the Rolling Stones.
Really?
So the Rolling Stones
funded this whole thing?
They funded the whole thing from the money they made in the United States.
Yeah. They were the VC on this, huh? The venture capitalists? Yeah.
Well, because they all lived in Surrey.
That's great.
Every one of them, So they started the guitar program.
That's great to hear that stuff, though.
And it's been a booming success.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. All right, before we close out, do you have any shout-outs, any friends or family, colleagues, anybody that you want to mention?
Well, first of all, I'd like to shout out to anybody who happens to have gone through and listened to me going yakety, yakety, yak for 1 hour. So I think my hat goes off to you for that. And I'd like to thank my host here.
Oh, thank you.
Who has become a friend as well.
Absolutely.
And then been a big bonus. And I'd like to just give a shout out to my friends that have sustained me during this time when I'm not teaching.
Right.
They filled in all those holes and all those places that I didn't have time for before.
Yeah.
And allowed me to have the freedom to go where I want, when I want.
Yeah.
And be free in my life. And for that, I thank my parents, shouting up in heaven. I'm sure that's where they are. For being an only child and giving me the house I grew up in to live in now.
I know, isn't that a treat?
And I always think to myself,
what an honor.
What a thing for a guitar teacher to have a house in Burlingame.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, I'm darn lucky,
Well,
But I have a garden that I love to garden in, and every time I go out, I feel my parents in that garden too, because many of the same plants that I love, my garden is my sanity. They planted.
Yeah, it's a terrific feeling.
It's a wonderful feeling. I feel that Burlingame has given me not only the beginning of my life, but I'm not going to say when I'm going to cash in my chips.
We're not ready to cash in yet. No.
But on the other end as well, the security, the feeling of community, the feeling of safety. Well, the historical society too,
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people I'll make this fast because I don't want to take up any more time. But I know that a lot of people who have moved to Burlingame don't have a clue about way Burlingame used to be.
And that's why we're doing these podcasts.
Well, thank goodness
so people
for that.
discover them. They can listen to what was happening in the olden days here in Burlingame.
Well, yeah.
How we grew.
Yeah, and Burlingame had some...
and we've had a lot of growth over the years. But good growth. I think it's all good growth. So
yes, absolutely. And good people.
Yeah, great.
And a lot of considerate people have lived here too. People say, people aren't considerate in anything. Well, at my school, one of the teachers had a kidney failure and was going to die within 2 months. And one of the parents donated her kidney to her. I mean, there's all sorts of good things
That is bigger than generous. That's huge.
All sorts of things. So anyway, I shout out to all that. And my final words, and I promise I'll make these the final words, is that I shout out to all of us in the United States who are going through such a difficult time now. And it might continue to be difficult, but we have to hang in there and speak out for how we want the United States to be, not the vision of a bunch of bullies.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's my final word, and thank you very much for inviting me, and I hope I made it slightly interesting.
Lynne, you were a lot of fun. I knew you'd be a lot of fun, and I want to really thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, absolutely.
I'd like to thank Lynne Herrick for being my guest today on A Burlingame. It's a small town podcast sponsored by the Burlingame Historical Society. If you are enjoying these podcasts or oral histories, please offer a comment or a suggestion and subscribe. There is no cost or obligation to subscribe. These oral histories are a way to connect our community. They have no advertisements or interruptions and are not monetized. Thanks to my Minister of Podcasts, Mike Nagler, Executive Producer, Shelby Lucchese, Director of Marketing and Social Media, Adrian Lucchese, and original music by Bray. This podcast was written and edited by Mark at the Mic and recorded on Wednesday, October 29, 2025, at the Burlingame Public Library. The Burlingame Historical Society copyrights this oral history, and no part can be copied and replayed without the written consent of the Burlingame Historical Society. Be sure to look for my next podcast, when my guest will be Trish Tormey, the founder of the Burlingame Run Club for Youngsters. So until next time, everyone, see you around Burlingame. It's a small town.